On Sunday, February 12th, 2017, best friends Liberty German, also known as Libby, aged 14, and Abigail Williams, aged 13, were in each other's company, as they so often were. With no school the following day, they had been given permission for a sleepover at Libby's grandparents' house. Pizza was ordered, and the girls settled down, alongside Libby's older sister Kelsey, for a movie night. It was late when they finally turned in, and they woke up at 10 AM to the smell of pancakes being cooked by Libby's father Derek. After completing some chores for Libby's grandmother Becky, the two girls ask if they can go to Monon Bridge, a popular spot for local teenagers. Permission is granted, but only if they are able to arrange a lift there and back. Arrangements are made for Kelsey, Libby's older sister, to take them. Derek, her father, would be available to collect them 2 hours later on his return from nearby Frankfurt. No set time was established for collection. Libby was told he would text them when he was on his way back, and they would meet at the trailhead leading to Monon Bridge. At around 1:30 PM, Kelsey collected the two girls. She remembers taking a phone call from her boyfriend Cody at 1:38 PM, while the two girls were still present, meaning the drop-off couldn't have been any earlier. At 1:40, they arrive at the trailhead, located across the road, from a farm known locally as Mears Farm. Kelsey watched the girls until they came to the trailhead. She noticed nothing untoward and drove off, leaving the girls to chat, take pictures, and enjoy what was a relatively balmy day for the middle of February. We don't know what time they reached the beginning of the Monon Bridge, but a Snapchat picture is uploaded by Libby at 2:05 PM, showing the decrepit crossing framed on each side by bare branches, illuminated by the low-lying winter sun. 2 minutes later, at 2:07 PM, Libby uploads another Snapchat. It is Abby walking tentatively across the bridge. At an unspecified time, though likely not long after, an infamous video recording is taken by Libby. It is of a man walking across the bridge in their direction. The camera was rolling before these images were shot. The girls were talking about run-of-the-mill things two teenage girls talk about. It is then that they notice the man walking behind them. The video was taken while Libby is on the southeastern side of the bridge. Her camera is pointed towards the northwestern side. At some point, the man gained the girls' compliance, although we can only speculate as to how that may have occurred. It is then that we hear the following voice recording. The man coaxed them down a small embankment. Not far away was the creek. The water was shallow at the point where police believe all three crossed. At 3:11 PM, Derek, Libby's father, calls his daughter. He receives no reply and arrives at the pickup point at 3:14 PM, where he parks his car and scans the area for the girls. Neither are in sight. He places another call logged at 3:14 PM, and again there is no reply. Knowing it is not like his daughter to ignore his calls, especially when she was expecting one from him, he gets out of his car and walks the trail the two girls had set out on a little over an hour and a half earlier. He comes across a man who has become known as Flannel Shirt Guy and asks, "Did you happen to see two girls up there?" The man replies, "No, but there's a couple on the bridge." This man would become one of the first people to become a witness in the case. Not knowing which trail the girls had gone on, he walks the wrong one, Trail 505, as opposed to Trail 501. At 3:30 PM, he rings Becky, telling her the girls are not at the pickup point. Becky is with her daughter Tara, and both begin repeatedly calling and texting Libby, but with no success. While family try to make contact, Derek walks in the opposite direction to that taken by the girls, to a bridge called Freedom Bridge. He comes across Flannel Shirt Guy again on his return. At 4 PM and with no reply, anxiety grows, and a family search team of 1 becomes 2 with the arrival of Tara. Becky and Mike, Libby's grandfather, would soon join them, along with Kelsey and her boyfriend Cody. When all are present, they establish search areas with the growing belief that the girls have been hurt after a fall or other accident. Kelsey and her boyfriend make it to the southeast end of the Monon Bridge and begin calling for the girls, not knowing that the hill they are looking down was the one her sister had walked down only a few hours earlier. With no success, the family calls police and report both Libby and Abby missing at 5:20 PM. By 6 o'clock, numerous local residents arrive to aid in the search for the missing girls. This occurs while family update the police with the pertinent information they need. By 12 o'clock that night, the search is called off. Police plan to continue it early the next morning.
Ben and Julia, good morning to you. This is the entrance to the trail where those 2 13-year-olds were last seen. Officers, law enforcement, they have stopped the search for the night. But in the meantime, other folks have come out. We've seen family. We just saw a group who didn't even know the girls come out here because they heard the story and wanted to come out. They're here with flashlights searching for them, doing anything they can. There's been so much pressure to try and find these 2 young girls since they went missing yesterday afternoon. In the meantime, we do want to give you another look at these photos. This is so important so that if you do see them, you can let police know. Both of them, again, 13 years old. They're both about 5 feet 4 inches tall. Liberty, or Libby German. She has shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes. She was wearing a tie-dyed shirt, some gray sweatpants, and also black shoes. Then there's Abby, or Abigail Williams. She's also 5'4", with medium-length blonde hair and hazel eyes. She was wearing a gray zip-up sweatshirt and some jeans.
At 12:15 PM, Kelsey German went on the Indie podcast to tell the local community that bodies had been discovered. In a Fox 59 article, Becky Patty recounts the discovery. She's quoted as saying, "He saw something. He could not figure out what it was. There were 2 deer standing up there. But as he looked up to see what that was, that is when he saw them." It was a volunteer searcher who discovered the bodies of the Delphi teens, lying in the grass between a group of trees deep in the woods. Becky Patty went on to say, "He called his wife who was with us and said, 'We found them.' My sister came up and she was crying, and she said, 'I'm so sorry.'" The Indie Channel wrote an article describing the location as follows. The bodies were found on private property, about 50 feet from the shore of Deer Creek. A press conference was called at 2 PM, saying that 2 bodies had been found. They had not yet confirmed them to be Libby and Abby.
Basically what we've got, we have found 2 bodies. Is that the Sugar Creek?
Deer Creek.
Deer Creek, sorry. In Deer Creek, about a mile east of town. We are investigating this as a crime scene. We suspect foul play. We have not made positive identification of the 2 bodies, so we're not going to be releasing any information on them at this point in time.
On February 15th, after an autopsy, the 2 bodies were confirmed, as everybody expected, to be Libby German and Abigail Williams. Police also state it is being investigated as a double homicide. Five months after the discovery of the 2 girls, a sketch was released by police of a man who was seen in the area on the day of their disappearance. He was physically characterised as being between 5'6" to 5'10" and weighed between 180 to 220 pounds. It was stated that he had reddish brown hair. With the release of these details, tips began to flood in, but they ultimately led nowhere. 2 years later, another wholly different sketch was released. Police made the following statement. As the investigation has progressed, information has been continuously reviewed and examined, and this sketch more accurately depicts the face of the suspect from the video recorded on Liberty German's cell phone while she and Abigail were on the High Bridge. Police Superintendent Doug Carter said,
"During the course of this investigation, we have concluded the first sketch released will become secondary as of today. The result of the new information and intelligence over time leads us to believe the sketch, which you will see shortly, is the person responsible for the murders of these two little girls."
The Indy Star have said that the second sketch was drawn on the 17th of February 2017. A description was also given, which ran as follows.
"We also believe this person is from Delphi, currently or has previously lived here, visits Delphi on a regular basis, or works here. We believe this person is currently between the age range of 18 and 40, but might appear younger than his true age."
It's also been reported that the reason for the change of direction was due to an arrest of the man believed to be depicted in the first sketch. According to Jim Clement, a former FBI agent, and Francie Hakes, a former federal prosecutor, the police cleared the first man. You can hear the two aforementioned talk about the case on the Best Case Worst Case podcast. We will leave the link below, but we must emphasise that this information is not coming directly from the police. It comes to them through a number of quote sources. A description of a vehicle was also given during the April 2019 press conference. Indiana State Police asked for the public's assistance in identifying the driver of a vehicle that was parked near the Monon Bridge on the day Libby and Abby went missing.
"We're seeking the public's help to identify the driver of a vehicle that was parked at the old CPS DCS welfare building in the city of Delphi that was abandoned on the east side of County Road 300 North next to the Hoosier Heartland Highway between the hours of noon to 5 on February 14th, 2017.
The video provided to the media is 1 second long. Police emphasised that people take account of the clothing worn, the man's gait when walking, and any other characteristics that stood out to them as familiar. They have said, and I quote, "The recording was longer than what has been released. Police won't release any more to protect the integrity of the investigation. But they've seen the video and likely won't be able to stop thinking about it." This statement appears to suggest that something is on the video that is disturbing to those who have watched it, though this might not be the case. It may well be that the video gave those involved chills due to the horrific nature of the crime scene and the hindsight this gave them when viewing the video later. When asked if the full crime had been recorded, Sheriff Leesenby has said this was not the case.
Is the attack itself on the recording?
No.
The now famous audio clip was released on the 22nd of February, 9 days after the girl's disappearance. It captures the man seen in the clip ordering them down the hill. A further segment of the clip was released on April 22nd, 2019. Here it is. Many have asked why the police have not released an extended version. A number of reasons have been given. We already have one, namely the need to maintain the integrity of the case should law enforcement make an arrest, which subsequently leads to a charge of homicide. Another reason for not releasing more is that they do not feel it will provide further insight into the possible identity of the man. A WTHR article states the following. Police say the girls mostly talk about stuff girls talk about in the recording, but they also mention the man. Scant details have been released about the murder scene, other than general comments saying their bodies showed strange signatures. The scene has also been described as odd. For obvious reasons, we don't know if these strange signs relate to the murder method or if they are injuries inflicted post-mortem. Their bodies were on the north side of Deer Creek, about 800 metres away from where the video was taken by Libby. Another former investigator has said that the killer left, and I quote, a lot of evidence at the scene. With regard to the strange signatures, former prosecuting attorney for Carroll County, Robert Ives, said,
I would say there were 2 or 3 things. I'd say at least 3. And I still think that it was probably somebody local, because it's just not a tourist spot. It's just not somewhere where anyone would be lurking. It's such an unlikely place to be. You've all been there. It's not that famous. It's not like people come there and hang out and hope, well, maybe I'll catch 2 girls here by themselves. I tend to think it was a local. I still tend to think it's a local.
The team from the Down the Hill podcast do a good job ascertaining the meaning of the words and phrases like odd and signatures when interviewing former FBI profiler Mary Eleanor O'Toole. She states that signature behaviour is behaviour that the offender engages in at a crime scene, that is over and beyond what is necessary to complete the crime. It is behaviour that is satisfying to the offender, whether it is psychologically satisfying or sexually satisfying. When understanding what is meant by odd, she is at pains to outline the broadness of this term, but says that it could be categorised in the following way. It could be post-mortem mutilation. It could include redressing the victims. It could include dismemberment. It could include insertion of foreign objects. It could be the placement and the replacement of the victims' bodies. As of now, we only have words which we can examine in detail to get an idea of the scene police are investigating, and from that, we can only say that they came across facets we can describe as abnormal. It's also worth pointing out that during research, we came across a text message interchange between 2 people which appears to give details about the scene. However, we have decided not to include them for a number of reasons. Firstly, we do not know if the descriptions are accurate. Secondly, those investigating the homicide have made no mention of what appears to be a private discussion. Thirdly, there are details that are contradictory. And lastly, if the details turn out to be true, or partly true, there is, I presume, good reason for law enforcement to be keeping the information close to their chests. If people wish to look into this information and make their own judgments, it's in the public domain. For us, it offers nothing definitive, and we can't ascertain the validity of the details.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
A number of names have come up as possible suspects in the search for answers. Most of them have been cleared. Some appear so unlikely that they are not worth mentioning. So we will discuss those that have appeared in the headlines over the past number of years. Many have been cleared as possible suspects. One name that was circulated was Daniel Nations. However, Indiana State Police have said he was, and I quote, not someone we care a whole lot about at this moment in time. The name of Charles Eldridge has also came up. He was a sex offender who bears, in some people's eyes, a resemblance to the first sketch released. Other than that, there doesn't appear to be much else. In recent months, a man by the name of James Chadwell has garnered a lot of attention. He was arrested for kidnapping a 10-year-old girl in Lafayette, a township close to Delphi. When police knocked on his door to ask if he had seen the girl, he told them that she had been at his house earlier. Having received this information, they asked for permission to search his property. Access was granted. Police found the missing girl during this search. She was in his basement, secured with a chain lock. She stated that Chadwell had tried to kill her. As of now, Sheriff Leesenby has said there is no specific link between the two crimes. Questions have been asked about the current state of the case. Many have asked if it can be considered cold. But law enforcement have said this is not the case. They still have leads to follow up. They still have full-time investigators working daily on it. Tips continue to come in, and search warrants and subpoenas are still being issued. However, with over 4 years gone, many believe that if they have evidence pointing to one or more individuals, there is nothing conclusive. If this is the case, what more is needed, and is it likely to be forthcoming? For the most part, family members of the victims have been supportive of law enforcement, though they are naturally frustrated. Anna Williams, Abby's mother, has said, and I quote, "Law enforcement have it under control. I believe in them 100%. One thing that can be said is that they have not sat idly by in the hope that something might fall into their lap. There is clearly a dedicated police force in place, as well as a conviction that justice will be served. As always, we would like to end with a few words on the victims. Libby, from all accounts, was a sports-loving girl with a creative streak for painting and crafts. Abby, the smaller of the duo, was a keen reader who enjoyed family camping trips and the great outdoors.
She smiled all the time. All the time.
Again, we come across a case where two young girls were robbed of their chance to finish their education, spend time with their family and friends, and make those decisions that come later in an individual's life journey. We here hope that the man responsible for cutting their lives short is apprehended sooner rather than later. Once again, thanks to everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Mystery Scope. As always, until the next time, take care.